Yo, in this video, I'm going to be going over the 3 worst memories from my time in my dream career as a Royal Marine Commando. In my last video, I went over the 3 best memories, and by common demand, I am now doing the 3 worst memories, what I can remember off the top of my head. If you have not already, please hit the subscribe down below and the bell button, because I have a whole range of Royal Marine related videos and other stuff, including gym, bodybuilding, etc. Let's get into this. So, number 1, actually from when I was in training. Yes, I know it's a training bit. However, I'm going to go in sort of as chronological order as I can do. So, what is the first memory? Basically, I was in an OP, an observation point, where we was in like a dug out position. So if you picture it like this, it was a super swampy area, very, very marshy, very, very wet. I was carrying the GPMG for a long period of time, and I was getting covered in all sorts of crap every time we was going over, like, not necessarily river crossings, but just like very, very marshy land, to the point where I was sometimes up to my waist in crap. So I was absolutely covered in crap, but that's not the issue. The issue was when we had actually got to our OP position, it was like a giant sort of like thorn bush that we had dug almost under, and then we could see through the bush. Sort of like underground, but through the bush. It's hard really to explain unless you've done one. But basically, we were sort of underground. There was one person that is watching the rear to where we actually came in. We are observing the enemy, which are through the bush and to our front, let's say, and then there's one person that's resting. Now, I've done OPs a few times, but the reason that this one was one of the worst memories is because of the area. Because it was swampy, because of the time of year, because of all the water and stuff, there was not mosquitoes, but midges, if you call them midges, but like these tiny little flies about that yay big, and they just swarmed us. Absolutely swarmed us. And I think they attack certain people more than others, maybe due to blood type, or I don't know what. But basically, by the end of this exercise, I was unrecognizable. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was unrecognizable. As in, I had been bitten anywhere that my skin was, okay? So I had my sleeves, which were velcroed up like this. I had my trousers exactly the same, pulled tight, because they were just absolutely swarming us. I think we was in that OP for like, I want to say like 4 days. So for 4 days and 4 nights, I was just getting absolutely munched. And when I say a swarm, it was like, even in the daytime, it was dark because of how many mozzies or midgies were in this OP with us. It was absolutely insane. At night time, because it was hot as well, or it was warm enough not to be in my sleeping bag when I was sleeping, I was just using my outer bivvy bag, like the waterproof sack that you have, and I was getting it, and I was having to tie a knot, well, not a knot, but like really tie up the end to stop them from just completely engulfing me within that thing. Even though I was catching them in there, I was still having to tie the top of it. And basically what that was doing is the little amount of sleep that I was getting, the few hours that I was getting even less, because I was rolling that top up, and obviously I need oxygen to breathe. So after 10 minutes, I was waking up from like not being able to breathe air and having to like make a tiny little hole and try and suck some through without sucking through all the midges into my mouth. But yeah, I was unrecognizable. My skin, there was no area on my skin that was visible where there wasn't a bite, there wasn't a bump. My whole face was so swollen from all of the bites. I honestly just, I thought that I was going to have to get pulled off at some point from like some sort of toxin poisoning. But yeah, that is number 1. The midgies, or the OP, let's call it. Number 2, I can't remember really what came first between this one and the last one that I'm going to speak about, but I'm just going to say this one first. This one isn't going to be one that you probably think I'm going to be talking about. However, if you've seen the video as to why I left the Royal Marines, the first ever Royal Marine video that I put up, you'll know this is one of the points, okay? And it's not down to like the job itself. It's obviously down to a personality, but nevertheless, this is still one of the most worst memories that I have. Okay, so at one point I had a couple of family members die almost in quick succession. So there was 2 funerals within the space of like a month, let's say. And I managed to get to one of them, and then the second one happened, and basically I went in and I said, listen, you know, this person's died in my family. It's not immediate, so it's not my mum or my dad, but it's someone that I was close with. And the funeral's on such and such date. Is there any chance that I can go to this funeral? They turned around and, long story short, said, I can't go. Now, I don't mind. If there's an operational requirement for me and someone has passed away, the job comes first. Like, I don't actually mind, okay? If there's a manpower issue, the job comes first, okay? Okay, whatever. But the reason that I was given that I wasn't allowed to attend my relative's funeral was because they, when they was in my position, wasn't allowed to attend their family relative funeral. So that was the reason that I got given. Oh, because when I was in your position, I wasn't allowed to attend it. I'm not just going to give it to you. It pretty much is almost how that sentence went. So obviously that's quite annoying because on the day of the funeral, I came into work, and on that specific day, we wasn't deployed, we wasn't on exercise, we wasn't away anywhere, and there wasn't even any jobs on. We went into work and they was like, oh yeah lads, we haven't actually got anything for you at the minute, so if you just want to like crack on and go do fizz and that, and then we'll like put something over the group if something comes up. And that was on the day of the funeral. Bearing in mind, I couldn't then re-request to go to the funeral because, one, it was already the morning of. Two, I lived like 6.5 hour drive away from where I was based, and that was probably the closest base where the Royal Marines actually were to my house. So there it is. That is number 2. Let's call it the funeral. I don't think it's very good that people do that. Obviously, again, it's personalities. This wouldn't have happened to everybody. This, if you go into the Marines, might not ever happen to you. However, that did happen to me, and it's pretty rubbish for retention of the most elite military force in the UK when you're telling them they can't go and pay respects to their dead relative because they missed one when they were younger, which is, I don't know, I don't think it's very fair, but let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. The third and final one, by no means is this the worst one, but it's also not my best experience ever. So you may know or may not know that the Royal Marines do a lot of stuff in Norway. Specifically, they have one of probably the most arduous courses called the Novices, and that's, I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks where you do survival in the cold winter. You learn how to fight in the cold winter. You learn how to ski in the cold winter. You learn how to use snowshoes. You nav, all of that sort of stuff in the harsh environment. Now, that's all great, and some of you might be expecting me to say, oh, the icebreaker drills, because that's a renowned thing that everybody knows that the Royal Marines do. They cut a big hole in a frozen lake in, let's say, like, it might be like -20 or something. They cut a big hole in a frozen lake. You, with all of your kit and your skis and everything, get pushed into this frozen hole, and you have to swim to one side, swim to the other side, get all of your kit out first, pick your way up to the edge, etc., and then answer some questions, ask to get out, and it's absolutely Baltic, blah, blah, blah. But it's not that, okay? That wasn't too bad. I didn't mind that. In fact, I actually liked that, and that was one of the memories of the last video. But if you go and see that, you'll see why. Now, the thing that I didn't like about this Novices, or my worst memory, and the third one, is the survival aspect. So, we was about to go on the exercise, and basically, I can't remember what the name of the storm was, but a storm was coming in, and we had a big like team meeting, I guess, with the ML, which is the mountain leader, which was in charge of the exercise. And when it gets below a certain temperature, they have to go off of the group's capability and basically make a call whether they still want to run ahead with the exercise. And they've done so, and he got us all into the room and he said, I think that this group is strong enough to withstand like -30 something degree weather, or whatever it was. I think it was around -30 degrees. So we did, and we cracked on. But when we got to the survival stage, where you basically don't have any of your own kit, and you have to make a fire, you have to catch the chicken, kill the chicken, make food, and just basically survive. It's in the name. That was all brilliant until it wasn't, which is pretty much from the start, but more so the night time. It got so cold, it's unexplainable. Like, it's just painful. It's just like painful cold, and then you're going numb all of the time. And basically, for the survival phase, I don't know how, but some lads were still able to sleep. Made a little lean-to, and the people that were sleeping was obviously like sausaged in that, basically all cuddled up together, trying to keep as warm as possible because it was absolutely freezing. Again, I cannot explain. There was one person on fire duty throughout the night. So, one, the fire doesn't go out, so you have some sort of warmth. But when I say some sort of warmth, that fire was like, to put it into perspective, one lad set his hat on fire because his head was so in the fire, or like close to the fire, that he burned and set his hat on fire because it's that cold that you can't even tell that how close you are to the fire because it's not doing that much full heat. And also they stay awake, so if the fire gets out of hand and it sets your shelter alight, that everyone doesn't burn alive. I ended up not sleeping. When it was my turn to go back round and sleep, I ended up not sleeping because my legs, as soon as my head, everyone's head was at the far end, and my hips downwards, after laying there for like literally under 5 minutes, would just go completely numb. So what I ended up doing was going on fire watch, and then after my fire watch was complete, I would then just basically walk and run around our little area. I'm not going like miles away, but around our little area, just to keep my blood flow because of these numb limbs that I kept getting and the cold that it was. So there it is. That is the third one. Tell me in the comments which one you would least like to happen, or least like to do yourself. Let me know, because I'm really interested which one you think is the worst one. Of course, I hope you enjoyed the video. They are the 3 memories off the top of my head that are the worst memories. If you haven't already, like I say, go watch the 3 best memories in the other video, or check out any of the other videos on the channel. I've got loads of stuff like help for joining the Royal Marines, the commando test, exercise stories, these sort of things, why I left, etc, etc. So go check them out, and again, let's make some gains. Boom.